Happy Friday. Welcome to another episode of Murders, Mysteries, and More. My name is Kaylee.
And my name is Desi.
Be sure to like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell next to the subscribe button to turn on post notifications. Before we get into this case, we always encourage those who have useful information to any unsolved case, please report it to your local police and sheriff department.
Amelia Earhart was an adventurous pilot who wanted to explore new countries and continents across the globe. She was the first female ever to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean. Amelia broke many insane records such as altitude, transcontinental speed, and won many prestigious awards. She is one of the most notable pilots in history. With that being said, today we will be taking off into the mystery of what exactly happened to her.
Who is Amelia Earhart? She was born as Amelia Mary Earhart on July 24th, 1897 in Atchison, Kansas, which is obviously her birthplace. Her parents were Edwin and Amy Otis Earhart. She had a younger sister named Merle, and she lived with her wealthy grandparents on her mother's side until she was the age of 12. And then her grandparents' names were Alfred and Amelia Harris Otis. She did attend private school. Her father was a lawyer for Rock Island Railroad in Kansas City, Missouri, where she spent the summers with him. 1909, her and her sister moved to Des Moines, Iowa when they were only 12 years old.
Here's some really cool, interesting facts that are besides Amelia Earhart, but the Wright brothers flew the first plane in December 17th of 1903 in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, which is part of the Outer Banks. For those of you who don't know, the Outer Banks is a group of barrier islands along coastal North Carolina that extends southward for about 175 miles. Amelia saw her first airplane at the State Fair in 1909, but she did not give a flying fuck. Amelia attended schools in St. Paul, Minnesota, and Springfield, Illinois before high school. Her father was an alcoholic, which obviously was not good for her.
So leaving the bad behind. So Mama Amy left Springfield, Illinois in 1914 with her daughters, and they moved to Chicago. 1915, Amelia graduated from Hyde Park. 1916, Amelia attended a prestigious school called Algonquin High School and junior college. And her second year that she attended, during her winter break, she met an amputee. He was a wounded vet from World War I, which we all should know that World War I was between the years of 1914 through 1918. And she was so moved by just meeting this guy that she left school and she decided to become a nurse for vets until the Truce, which ended the war in 1918. So Amelia was a very humble person.
In 1919, she attended Columbia University and left after 1 year to move to LA with her parents, who had gotten back together. In the winter of 1920, Amelia saw her first air show, and she said about it, quote unquote, "As soon as we left the ground, I knew I had to fly." So after that, she attended flight school at Burt Kenner's Airfield on Long Beach Boulevard in LA. December 15th of 1921, she got her pilot license. She got her pilot's license with the National Aeronautics Association, and Amelia was indeed a hustler. She worked multiple jobs in order to purchase a plane.
Planes are expensive.
Yeah, they are.
1924, Amelia's parents split again. She could not afford her plane. Obviously, this is an expensive hobby, so she sold it. And with the money she sold it with, she bought a car and moved her mom to Boston because her sister was teaching in Boston. And then Amelia decided to become a social worker, but she still decided to keep flying as her side hobby. June 18th/June 19th, 1928, Amelia took flight from Newfoundland, Canada to Wales. On the plane, she was joined by George Palmer Putnam, who wrote a Charles Lindbergh book. And so, if you guys don't know who Charles Lindbergh was, He did a solo transatlantic flight in a single-engine monoplane. Putnam became her manager and her husband in 1931. She was also joined by pilot Wilmer Stoltz and mechanic Lewis Gordon.
Rumors about her were that Amelia felt she needed to prove herself and that she was tired of being a public figure. She piloted a single engine from Newfoundland, Canada to Ireland. May 20 through 21st of 1932, Amelia was the first female to fly successfully across the Atlantic Ocean, which was very impressive. She had set many records, including the altitude record in 1931, the fastest non-stop continent-to-continent record, and the first person to fly solo across Hawaii to California in 1935, and so many more after that.
Other notable things about Amelia Earhart is Amelia Earhart formed the 99. So this is an international organization for female pilots across the world. She was the first president of the organization, which represents today women from 44 countries. June 1st, 1937, Amelia Earhart left Oakland, California on an eastbound flight. This was her second attempt to circumnavigate the globe. The first attempt did not go as before this didn't go as planned because she crashed her plane in Hawaii. However, the second attempt, she decided to switch the way she was flying. So instead of flying west to east, she was going to fly east to west. This overall would have been safer because she would have experienced a lot less storms. However, this put her in one of the most difficult lakes to fly, which is flying to the Howland Island. The Howland Island is a tiny 2-mile long dot in the Pacific Ocean.
For this, she was accompanied by flight navigator Fred Noonan and took the twin-engine Lockheed called Electra. She did not take her CW transmitter with her. She instead attended to communicate with high-frequency bandwidths and flew from California to Miami first. Then she went down to South America, went across the Atlantic to Africa, east to India and Southeast Asia, and then on June 29th, they reached Lae, New Guinea. Only 7,000 more miles were left to Oakland, and at this point they had already flew 22,000 miles by this point. Why did Amelia not take her CW transmitter with her?
The reason why pretty much why she didn't take it with her, so according to a lot of sources, they say Amelia felt if she did bring her CW transmitter, she would feel like it would be a dead weight, so she felt like she didn't really need it. And also she decided not to take her trailing attendant either because she would have to use Morse code to communicate, and I'm guessing Amelia Earhart did not really know how to translate Morse code, so initially that's why she chose to communicate by voice at higher bandwidths.
Okay, the second part to this question is, if she had brought both of those things, could it have prevented what was to come?
It could have absolutely prevented it because, this is another form of communication. So if for some reason the people that she was, communicating with, if for some reason, they weren't able to get a hold of her or, those frequencies be able to transmit using my voice, these would be good alternative methods to use. So I absolutely do believe if she did bring those, that the situation might be different.
Okay.
So on June 30th, there was a telegraph sent to her husband, and this is what it said. Radio misunderstanding and personal unfitness probably will hold one day. Going based off of that, people believe that she just took off the next day. So during the next day at takeoff, some point, she did lose connection with the U.S. Coast Guard, which is called the ATSKA. Basically, she could not receive the frequencies from them, and the plane, it never did make it to Howland. However, from the last transmission that was received, based off of it, it indicates that they were still taking the plane forward. Do you think the outcome would have been different had Amelia not lost connection with the ATSKA?
I think it definitely would have been different. Maybe it could have helped the Coast Guard keep track of her and exactly where she was via communication. Maybe it could have prevented or even helped her have a safe landing to somewhere instead of her being forever lost, of course.
Right, yeah, I definitely agree. And why do you think they lost connection? Do you think it was bad weather, perhaps?
It could have been bad weather. It could have been air interference as well on top of it. Or, there could have been something wrong with the communication lines at that time.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And this was also, 1937, so obviously the technology back then is a lot different, and we've came pretty far from the type of planes that Amelia Earhart flew.
Definitely. We have a lot more technology and protocols in place and communication to kind of help prevent these things.
Right. It still does happen sometimes, but not
as much.
Yeah.
But on to the theories, which the first theory is going to be that she crashed into the ocean. Many believe the two had ran out of fuel, and it was a long stretch of land across, of course, especially in a small-ish plane. But the radio logs indicate that she was near the island, and that there was a lack of visibility, and the plane was running low on gas. But the plane never made it to the island, and the plane has yet to be found, although there are speculations, of course. But they've searched thousands of square miles with no luck and no signs of the plane. How come, if the plane did crash in the ocean, how come they never recovered, the plane or pieces of it?
So that is a really good question. First of all, I have to say that a lot of people don't know this, but we have actually explored more of our space than we have of our ocean. We've only discovered 3%, so that leaves a lot of area undiscovered. And also because we don't know exactly, we kind of know an area where the plane could have gone down, but we don't know an exact pinpoint location. It could be that the plane is a little bit outside of this range, and so that is why they never found the plane.
How is it possible for the plane to run out of gas when they checked it beforehand?
I think the most common reason why they would have ran out of gas is maybe this trip to the island, they didn't realize that it was going to take longer to really cross this lake than they thought. So maybe thought that when they left they had enough gas. However, clearly it wasn't enough. Maybe they needed to add another stop along the way. There's so many different things. They could have also, if they've encountered bad weather or something, they could have, because they lost connection with the U.S. Coast Guard, they could have gotten lost to trying to find this island and then gone too far, and now they're in the middle of where the ocean is and stuff like that, and so there's no safe place really to land.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Another really popular theory, and this one is crazy, very crazy, but it could happen, is they were eaten alive by crabs. July 2nd at 8:40 a.m., and this was 1937, they did send a signal to the U.S. Coast Guard, and it said KHAQQ, which is the Electra's call letters, to the ATK zone, and it says we are on line 157337, end quote. However, the United States still cannot confirm exactly where the signal came from, so they can't pinpoint it to a location. Now, line 157-337 means the plane was probably flying northwest off of Howland Island of the southeast navigational line, which splits the island in half, which is where another island called New Kumaro Island, and that's where that island's located. And the theory goes that Noonan died upon impact, or that he was drunk, and then Amelia was left stranded on this island with coconut crabs. What's crazy about the crabs on these islands, there has actually been evidence found that they have torn apart carcasses such as pigs before, and they were able to take all this flesh out within 2 weeks. So they could have done that to Amelia Earhart. It seems crazy, but it's possible. In 1940, which is 3 years later, 13 bones were found on this island by scientists. Obviously, they took these bones to be tested because these were human bones. And in 1941, Dr. David Hillis analyzed these bones. The results came, and they were inconclusive, cannot be determined. However, a lot of scientists, especially modern day scientists, still say they could be hers because the bones do match, similar to her description and of like her height and everything. And the DNA supposedly says like it has a really high chance of being related to her. But again, there's always that 1%, 2% chance that they're not hers. Do you think Amelia Earhart could have been eaten alive by crabs on the island? If so, where are the other missing 193 bones? Since only 13 were found, a human body contains 206 bones.
I mean, if these crabs did eat pig carcasses, I think it's very possible they would eat a human, of course. So I think it's possible. As far as where the other bones went, not for sure. They could have washed off into the ocean, or they're buried deep in other spots in the sand, or the crabs could have also possibly eat the bones too. I mean, we don't know what these crabs are capable of. They seem kind of crazy, like crabs. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, they definitely are. It definitely is crazy that a crab could do that, but...
I mean, if it's multiple crabs, I can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like ganging up on you and shit. They're like, gang, gang, time to die. There's also the last theory, or conspiracy rather, is the Marshall Island conspiracy, which in 2017 a photo emerged of what appeared to be Amelia and Noonan, but the photo was debunked. But according to Roland C. Reinick, he said if she couldn't find Helen, plan B was to cut off communications and head for the Marshall Islands and ditch her plane there. Now, Roland Reinick, for those who don't know, is a retired U.S. Air Force colonel who resides in Hawaii, basically says that when they landed that Amelia was captured. Fred Patterson, somebody else who was a World Airways pilot, says, quote unquote, there's just no way she made it to the Marshall Islands. I've done some long-range flying in that airplane myself, and I know exactly what it burns per hour. And he said this back in 2015, which is absolutely crazy, and this theory is definitely wild. So if Amelia had made it to the Marshall Islands, why didn't she try to communicate to someone that she was still alive?
Well, if the Japanese, which is crazy, but if the Japanese really took her as a prisoner, then Amelia Earhart probably would not have been allowed to communicate with the United States, and so that is why she didn't communicate with them. But I do think that is a really key point in this theory, why this kind of makes this theory more thrown out, because it's just super extreme.
It definitely is pretty extreme, but like, I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe we can never rule anything out, because I mean, the government is always hiding shit from us.
That is very true, though.
And they're always watching.
Yeah, they're creepers. That's weird, bro.
Right.
Like, stay on my business, bro.
Yeah, and a lot of people, this is on Reddit, they're like, this is what a lot of people say. They're like, she and Noonan crashed, and then they died as castaways. They were captured by the Japanese, held in prison, and then murdered and drowned.
Castaways. We are castaways.
That is so dark.
I mean, it is, but it's realistic because, you know, like, we don't know what
True.
happens. That's the country secrets.
Right.
Countries do a lot of, like, crazy, inhumane things. Yeah, I mean, like, with the past wars and all that stuff, I mean, us as a country, United States, we've done some pretty inhumane things.
Yeah, us too. A funny comment I like is, but I know this is obviously, like, not true, but someone said, she hooked up with D.B. Cooper and now they live in Tommy Wise's house.
Bro, that would be so funny, though! How crazy would that be? They just happen to find each other per coincidence, and it's like they don't know each other's like real identities.
Crazy.
Like, oh my god.
But
maybe Amelia just, you know, wanted to get away from her life.
Right, but D.B. Cooper didn't do the thing until, like, jump off the plane or whatever until 1971, so that's kind of a lot of years.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah. And she was almost 40
Oh, she would have been old as shit.
Yeah, so I don't think they hooked up.
Bro, he got with that old lady, if that's the case. Yeah, he trying to find a sugar mama. Take care of him. Oh my god.
So, in conclusion, Amelia Earhart is a significant part of flight history. Her contributions would make the Wright brothers proud, along with her family. To this day, we do not know exactly what happened on that plane. What we do know is that Amelia accomplished many things and died doing what she loved, flying. We should all strive to live like that.
With that being said, we would love to know which theories do you believe to be the most plausible. If you have any other theories, of course, feel free to place them in the comments below. But with that said, thank you for listening to another episode of Murders, Mysteries, and More. Remember to always keep your eyes open because you never know when a coconut crab is going to pinch your bum and have you for dinner.